witty, nasty shit on Twitter. And I think you want to be able to do that anonymously, but if you do have that and you don't know who's doing what, you do get to this point where someone can fucking manipulate it. But if you do know, then the problem is the government has already shown how fucking shady they are when someone comes out and says something that goes against what they agree with, or what they're trying to push, or what agenda they have, or what's best for them financially. So they'll fucking throw the kitchen sink at you. We've seen them do that. You can't have those kind of people in power where they can know exactly who's saying what. You still have to have the ability to have whistleblowers. So you have this conundrum. On one side, you're going to have this completely manipulated environment that's done by corporations and fake people and people that are paid by parties just to push the party line and to go out there and debate it vigorously and argue it. They're paid to do it.
Yeah.
And all you have is your wits. All you have is your ability to try to form your own opinions of things, regardless of like where you feel like you're pulled because of whatever ideology you've publicly proclaimed to be. I'm a liberal person. This is how I feel. I'm pro this. I'm pro that. And then they'll start fighting about what that means.
What's scary when that happens, because then you also have locked yourself into a space where you might not change because you're afraid of what your public persona is.
Exactly.
And that's got to be...
That's how you get to Dick Cheney endorses Kamala Harris, and the liberals are like, yeah, boom. I saw this dude, he posted a atomic bomb gif, and is like, after that happened, like, it's over, boom. It's like, you guys are just dorks who don't play sports. Do you realize what kind of mental gymnastics you have to go through where Dick Cheney, rest in peace, where Dick Cheney...
He passed away.
He just passed away. Where Dick Cheney endorsing your liberal, progressive candidate that somehow or another that's a good thing. The guy was the architect of the Iraq invasion, weapons of mass destruction host, all that shit.
He was a Schlumberger guy,
he was
right?
A scary guy, man.
He was the oil guy, right? He couldn't put
Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton.
Halliburton.
Fuck.
Bro.
That was bizarre. I mean, that's the thing.
Gymnastics.
Everything's gotten so bizarre, dude.
He's not dead? Oh, it's a fake report? Fake Dick Cheney death report came from RT parody account. Those motherfuckers.
Here we go, bro. But
they got me. This is the thing. It's like, you can't tell what the fuck is true. Well, first of all, how's he still alive? You know? How many soccer players did we lose this year? Midfield, massive heart attacks, just running down the street. People are dying. And somehow or another, Dick Cheney's still alive.
And Dick Cheney's still out there twerking.
Different heart.
Yeah. That's what they're doing.
He's got a fake heart.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he's on his 6th or 7th heart. A lot of these, you don't think politicians are getting fucking separate hearts and organs, dude? You don't think they're first in line when they fucking...
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's probably part of, like, if you don't open up a hospital, this is what I want. The moment my shit goes south. I want a doctor ready with his hands scrubbed.
Yeah. Oh, I bet there's a sick Rothschild out there somewhere, and every month they're putting a kicker into him.
Dude, I was reading a story last night about this dude who was I think he was a Rockefeller, who got eaten. See if I believe he's one of the Rothschilds or Rockefellers. God damn it. One of them fancy people, when you hear the name, you're like, oh, that fancy family. One of those. So this dude went to New Guinea and got eaten by cannibals. Apparently he went there.
I hate
Michael Rockefeller. So apparently he went there, and they were fine with him the first time he went there, but he was trying to get something from them, and the something that he was trying to get from them was sacred, and apparently they were very pissed off at him. So he didn't know that they were pissed off at him. So that when he went back, he thought they'd be friendly with him.
Yeah,
and they killed him and ate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then they hid it. They hid the story forever. So they went looking for this guy, like, hey, my rich cousin is missing. Where is he? And they're like, I don't know.
They just
fucking burp. They just ate that dude.
Somebody just coughs up one of those things that keeps your what is that thing that goes on there into your shirt?
Your cuff?
A cufflink.
Oh, cufflink.
I just fucking
Yeah.
So I got to call something a cufflink.
Hey, let me give a shout out to the person who's who was on their YouTube channel because I can't remember most of the details of the story. But if you go to this dude's YouTube channel, he lays it out.
I'm trying to find a hat that matched with y'all's curtain in here.
It's perfect. You nailed it.
Thanks.
I'll get it in here somewhere. I have a real problem with these goddamn YouTube videos. I'm watching too much. I'm absorbing a lot. I'm learning things.
But do you think like you talked about Islamophobia in Britain?
Did I talk about it? What do you mean?
Or did you mention it a minute ago? Islamophobia.
Well,
what does Islamophobia mean?
We were talking about the migrant crisis. Weren't necessarily saying Islamophobia. I think there's it's like the migrant crisis in the United States. It's not a crisis of one type of individual coming in. The idea is that you want to be able to vet everybody who comes in, from no matter what, whether they're from Guatemala or they're from Syria. You want to find out who the fuck they are. You don't want to let in criminals and psychopaths.
Yeah,
it's all that simple. And if you start, blocking off people's ability to do that, I always have to wonder, like, what are you trying to do? Yeah. If you're just trying to let everybody in and not check, are you trying to create chaos? Is that what you want? Because that's what I would do if I was an evil person and I wanted to fuck up an entire civilization. I would just let criminals in. I would encourage criminals to go there. I would release them out of my jails and give them money to go north.
Yeah.
You can just walk across to America. We're going to pay you to do it.
Well, I think you have a lot of people that have that believe in some sort of a moral and ethical code, and they feel like they don't have a place to be sometimes,
There's also some people that grow up and they just got fucked by the world. They just got brought to a real bad spot. And they started off way worse than you and I.
For sure.
And that's the reality of, if you want to keep a healthy society, you have to keep those fucking people out. Like, the world is not fair. It's fair. And if you want to protect the best aspects of the world, you got to keep them safe. And then spread out that safety from there. It's not let in all the bad. It's spread out the safety. It's like the way to do it isn't to just let all the criminals in and then, now we all live with crime. Like, no, that's stupid. The way to do it is to solve the crime problem in an area and then expand that area ever greater across the world. That is totally doable. Totally doable. You're never going to stop all crime, but you can minimize it significantly with a concerted effort, which is not being done. They're not doing that. And there's a bunch of different things that they have to do. Instead of just hiring cops to fuck people up, they should train cops better. They should pay them more. They should make them more respected.
Yeah, I saw
make people appreciate cops instead of think of them as the enemy.
I agree. We always thought that cops were reliable, but then I guess some cultures have different experiences with cops. But these days, cops are so diverse that it's like you couldn't have you'd almost have to be a alien or something to have a racial issue. It feels like sometimes,
Well, I think cops are just like all kinds of people, and the problem with all people is they're going to vary. There's going to be some people that can handle pressure, and some people that can handle having power and being a boss.
Oh, that's
you got
a good
good
point.
bosses. I've had great bosses. We're great guys. They made you happy to work with them. You knew they were the boss, but it was a cool situation. And then you got people that are cunts just because they're bosses. You got this guy that just won't stop talking down to you because he knows he can get away with you because you need the job. He can get away with shitting on you. You've all had that too. And that's the problem with being a cop. Like, some people are just not good at having power over people, and some people are great with it. And then there's the reality of the stress that they face. Every fucking day you might get shot. Every day you're.
All right. Do you remember how many followers I had? $175, very close. I had 333. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And there was this point at 5:30 in the morning where I went into this one person's Twitter Spaces, and I could not believe how quickly it followed. It was just like follow. Like I think I got like 60 and maybe like 10 just like they came up with. Now these are fun followers, but there are people who are just like lost followers. I did think some good people though who just by um, don't people's Twitter Spaces and shooting their content. The people on Twitter are so absolutely enough. They are without it. They're like those people on Discord who just shit on me, but it's kind of these Twitter Spaces look like this. Yeah. This one guy yesterday. This one guy yesterday. This one guy yesterday. Now, in my spiel, I no point that I'm an expert in human growth hormone. I don't say that. I say that we talk about human growth hormone. So this guy yesterday, who knows one word about human growth hormone is like, oh yeah, when you're talking sacristi, human growth hormone. I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what that is. Like, let's see, growth hormone acting from a doctor. And I explained the process. He was like, oh, you don't know what sacristi? Uh, uh, human growth hormone. Well, it turns out he was saying it and mispronouncing it. And so, number one, I didn't know what he was saying. And two, what sacristi some other fucking it was like it was something different, but this guy started shooting on me. He's like, oh, you have 150 followers in your account. Yeah, dog, I created it like 2 days ago and I got 150 followers. You've had your account for like 6 years and you've got like, not that many more than I do. Anyway, that's just that's how people are on Twitter. And I get it. I mean, I do the same thing to some extent. Like, wow, I'm really quick. Well, yeah. Um, well, I mean, it's like I do it for tens of thousands of dollars. Um, but I got banned, and I tried for more than a year to track them down. I don't want to say every single day, but sometimes every single day. And I create bots to do it. Basically, they put some kind of note in my account. Do not under any circumstances. They fucking followed us, or they fucking created a follow bot that made us change the whole system. So I've noticed this before. Like the reason why I was able to spam so many people before in such an efficient manner is because a couple of years ago, when you would create an account, you could follow 400 people right away. No issue. Not issue. You create an account now and you follow more than 10 people, you get a 12-hour line. So I can already tell that I made somebody saw my big boy and was like, yeah, we got to film this. And they did. And I like other things, but like that Twitter Spaces people where I just create dozens of them for every keyword so that you type anything in the Twitter Spaces search, it's just like kind of my fucking invitations to come out. And whatever it is, I've always been very good in my profile. Just whatever it is, it's just something that like a vision that I've had where I just look for them because I want to know where to do this. Well, I was in this one Twitter Space. Dude, I would say this. I love Africa. I love African people. I love I love African people more than I love most other continents because I feel like the colonial powers just absolutely ravaged their country. With that said, there is a certain uh, thing that happens within what I find to be many of these similar Twitter spaces where the people talk Twitter spaces, people talk for like 1 or 2 minutes, that's it. But these other Twitter spaces, they're talking for like 19 minutes, 25 minutes of one person, and it's just like, it's ridiculous. So this was happening yesterday, where these guys would be like, we have 15 minutes left. And these guys would just be like, okay, the next person, next hand. And they'd be like, all right, go ahead. This guy would be like, I want to thank my wife. She's my only follower. Literally, that's what somebody said. I appreciate everything she does for me. Thank you to the other person who's helping me on Twitter. It says, I just got a notification. I want everyone to know I just got a notification. It's like absolutely nothing. And here I am, Rick Rowan, ready to go. So I'm in this fucking Twitter space something. And normally I'm like, I have to say to myself, is it worth my time? Is this going to be worth my time to go to the Twitter space and wait, I don't know, have sometimes 30 minutes, an hour to get on stage and be able to keep my spiel? Or do I just move on? Well, this one I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try it. I get on. I speak for 3 seconds and I get cut off. I waited in this fucking thing for like more than an hour, bitching and moaning. Let me fucking on the stage. And then I get it in 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah, we're not talking about that right now, next time. And I was just so frustrated. And that's just what happens. I mean, I get it. It's part of life. You can't win them all. But it was just kind of a fun thing that happened where I'm like, oh, I cannot believe that these guys are doing this at this point. They're just, I waited this long and they're not going to let me go. So what else are we doing? Well, in addition to my one account with 333 followers, that's good. But I've got the other account. I would rather my phone. Oh, you're that's exactly right. Yeah, no, it is exactly like that. And these people, like I said, they're very kind. But the people who need the airtime actually get the most are these people who are talking about these hungry being thirsty and that they're these types of technology, that type of, and then for me to be like 3 seconds in, just cut me off. Oh my God, what is going on? So my goal is I don't want to give it a date, but I want to have 1,000 followers on my account because it's a big threshold. And then on my other accounts, I don't have 100 followers. And um, my other accounts, that's like 25 other accounts. So um, it's more difficult to do that. Especially when, somebody's followed you once on your main account. They don't want to follow you 25 times without even trying. But some people do, some people get it, and they're really cool. So I, I'm making strides on the other accounts too. They're 25 followers, continuing to improve there. So the reason why I want that, once I have like 100 followers, each of the smaller accounts, when I go in with these bots into people's um, Twitter spaces, they show up closer to the top. They're not all the way up top. And that's just reality. Um, I know that some people exactly exactly similar exposure. And I do hear people like, welcome up. Excellent. Left is my friend from Twitter Spaces. How you doing, big dog? How's your day going? I appreciate it. Yeah, man. I was just talking about some of the success that I've had on Twitter Spaces recently, and in I did one account with like 350 people, something like 48 hours. And so it just continuing to grow. keeping up the grind. How are things in your neck of the woods? I appreciate it. Yeah, so we're just continuing the grind. I've been going into the spaces, showing my project, and really just, I get some people who would like that Twitter space where I met you who are very kind, allow me to speak, allow me to get out my spiel. There are other people who don't want to hear it, they think that it sounds like a commercial, and I get that. I've got my spiel down pretty well though, so it does sound like I'm reading it. Some people think I'm AI as well, but some people just stop me from reading it. When they say I, I'm like, no, it's just me saying this right now. Like, oh, we thought you were a robot. So I do get that. But yeah, I find a lot of simplicity and really proud of it. Exactly. That's the goal. And eventually, I keep seeing when I get like a bunch of accounts and someone's Twitter space, sometimes they just stop at a entire Twitter space and like, what is this? And end up clicking on my profile and snooping around, seeing what I'm doing. And if anything, I hope to have a positive impact from it. If they don't like it, not everybody does, so they can throw me out and whatever they want. But for the most part, I'm finding a lot of positivity in it. If you have any Twitter space posts that you like in particular, yeah, I used to. So I didn't know really anything about Twitter Spaces probably like 3 years ago, and I used to just like go into them and talk to people, and I didn't have my spiel down as well as I do now. But I used to host an overnight show with someone, and we got like, I got into the NEP world, and I got into the local and got ready, and I was looking for her last night just to see like what happened to her, because she was like a very well known person on Twitter. And of course, what happened with everybody eventually, she got her account suspended. I don't know how. She was the nicest person. She never posted anything wrong or anything. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was speaking to people last night. These guys from, um, I was in an African space, and they're like talking about like, hey, I had a bigger account that a lot of people and they get angry. There's just like no help from Twitter to get any of that stuff back. It's one of the worst systems I've ever seen. It's very exactly, exactly. And from what I know, none of those people who are in their security teams work in the United States anymore. So they don't even have like as I understand it, they're in foreign countries. So that like if they ever get fired, they can't come out and be like, look, here are the practices that are happening at Twitter like on, like the local news or something like that. They're all basically faceless people. Not saying they're not important in life, but they just don't have perhaps the same connection to perhaps some of the larger audiences in the United States where people are trying to get their accounts back. And it's very frustrating because you work so hard to build up an account. People get to know you, and then it gets bad. And then it's like, okay, well, what happened to that? Oh, I guess they got paid. And then there's nothing that you can do with it. All those connections that you made are gone. All those posts that you haven't gone. It is better since you have less that took over. There's no better than um, I came up with this strategy. If you have Twitter Spaces right now, do you have an iOS device left? Okay, excellent. Go to Twitter Spaces and go to the search and type the word Twitter. Sure. Um, what will happen is I created like over 100 different Twitter space, Twitter Spaces that are upcoming. So when you type in some of this, when you type in the when you type in certain words, it just floods. Like my thing just says like read Rabbi's profile, and it just floods all of the search results. And I think it's a pretty interesting way of advertising that currently hasn't been watched. Yeah, actually, somebody yesterday, like literally less than 24 hours ago, it was this I I'm open to it. I think you contact the phone with people, but I understand that. I know what you're saying. He was in my stream over here. I'm like his last name. He's a major stream, and just I had the opportunity to tell him about myself. He wanted to see my ID. I showed him my ID, and a lot of people. Um, he brought a ton of people into it, and that's how I started getting into this. But I didn't really know who he was, but I've just been live streaming it. I got another guy who. What, I got another guy who messaged me in Discord who I know he's a pretty big fan of mine, and he's a doctor too. He put me on I have no video on anybody. So for documentary, this is like an overview of whatever they want, especially when it comes to long form content, and then I have other clips, and then I have the social media, and so basically anything that he wants to um, do to make it easier, I'm pretty sure that I get content back. So that's good, and I really, the thing that makes me happy is I get people who, after I talk to them, they're like, people, and that's the best because it's like, good, that's what I want to do. I want to be a positive force in people's lives. I want to be a pillar to society and be a pillar to the nation. And so when I actually get to engage with people and they tell me positive things like that, that's really great. And yeah, I mean, I kind of see it as this. If I sit on Twitter Spaces for the next year, every single day, at least like 12 hours a day, I'll become a very well-known individual that's a much love, and but even family is better. And then what I need to do is my account is spinning, I come back with another account, people will know me, and just really keep that new exposure thing going. And not just anything, but you know what? I'm looking for your stuff. I've never seen more stuff in my entire life. You say that you can change my life with just a retweet, okay, let's try. And so I personally think excellent. That's the plan. That's the plan. So I really enjoyed my life. I enjoy going on these trips because sometimes they're very frustrating. You know, I'm sure you've been in them before where you want to get on stage and it's like you have to wait a long time and they vet you and sometimes and things like that. I don't know if you trust this person. I read a lot. People give me content and they do it and they let me get through it on the camera. I get them open that content. And for those that I don't, you can't let them all. I get a lot of reviews. I mean, the best thing that I hear, in addition to keeping me healthy, sometimes I too much feel and people will be like, I'm not gonna lie, that is the greatest thing I've ever done. I'm like, that's what I want it to be. That's the kind of positivity that and so those are all really big things. Do you have any plans to be in any Twitter spaces this afternoon? maybe you send me an invitation out to our church that we see it and we'll get to it. Do you have any experience with bots on Discord? No, no, not I mean, that's good for the group. Like bot, yes. So there are some really good. Oh, that's good. That's good. There are some that, as you get bigger, you're going to want, particularly in terms of, they have just like the moderation bots, but they'll just tell you when a user joined, how old their account is, they'll tell you perhaps what link they came from. It just gives you a lot more information about people. Um, and, there are others that I use, that I use like a ticketing, like people have questions, so they can support, they can listen to message that way. Um, I do use a lot of music bots. Some of them work better than others. The lo-fi bots work really well. Some of the like choose your own song ones, they work for 72 hours or so. Secondary ones, but some are better than others. And I think that what you do is a good thing. Basically, Twitch Spaces is great, and it's great to create a community there, but there's no video aspect of it, or if there is, it's just one person. Right. There are some. There are some times though you may want to have, like I've been a part of crypto communities from Twitter, and the crypto community will have like a night where they watch the Wolf of Wall Street, or they'll watch Wall Street, they'll watch some kind of finance related movie, or just want to like go to what the person doing, but just because Discord has so many features that you just yeah, I was when you first created Discord, Discord it's like very plain. There's not that much. But if you go, there are some really good websites for Discord. Top.2G is one of the best ones, especially for bots. You go in there, any kind of bot that you ever want, like just go see if there's anything good. Strictly from Twitter. Yeah. But do you have a metric? No, I understand. I'm just saying that that's the best thing you can do because They also have some bots that I use that I don't know if you have to use, but anytime you go live, they're just going to go community. Not that I have a huge community that's just rushing to watch what I do, especially because I have so many different items. However, for someone like you, you may want them for whatever you're interested in. Maybe you don't as well. I mean, you can just turn it off. But like, you know, if you're in a community and people are just like, you know, this is what happened recently. What did we post? You know, we post what you want here to do this for. Then there's a thing. I was looking at top that sheet for just how many Twitter bots they don't know how many Twitter bots that are integrated, that are Discord bots technically, but they just have some kind of function. With kind of like what Casper 2 said. A lot of these are redundant. They'll do like multiple and do multiple things just in a slightly different manner. Um, yeah, that's how I would say a good thing to do. Um, and really the big one is having an entry, at least a one Twitter. If you need, if you need 1 second to tell me where to go, you know, that makes it 3 seconds. You can take every Twitter for instance, but you can also just say, you know, on that street for Russia, and then everybody can just wait.
pulling people over. What is the worst thing that's going to happen to you in your day? Oh, did someone open their door on your car? Oh,
Yeah, someone whistle at you because you had
I
big
saw a
tits or whatever.
10-year-old get their face shot in.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a little girl get run over by a car. I saw horrible murder scenes. You know, they're going upon car accidents every day. You're seeing so much awful shit. You're dealing with, and then every time you pull somebody over, every cop has seen those videos of people pulling people over and just getting lit with bullets, just fall to the ground. There's so many of those videos. Getting your gun taken away from you, getting shot and killed.
Yeah.
We've all seen those videos.
It's at Walmart everywhere. A lot of that shit. It's like there's just so much violence now.
There's this one where this guy was beating up this female cop, and his daughter was telling him to stop. The daughter was trying to get him to stop beating this cop to death.
Oh.
You're like, oh my god. So like that job is not a normal fucking job, and when people don't have respect for it and don't appreciate it, it's a sign of the sickness of society. It's the illness of society that we don't appreciate law and order, and we think of it as something that somehow or another that it's uniquely oppressive, and that without it being there, you'd have less problems. So there was that was all that defund the police thing.
Yeah.
Which is just, we should have learned from that. And I hope a lot of people did. Like, that's a terrible idea. The problem is not cops. The problem is cops are human. And they have to stay human, otherwise you're going to get fucking RoboCop.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we going to do?
RoboCop could easily get hijacked, too. That's another issue. It's like a lot of, if there were cyber attacks, where they wanted every electric vehicle or something to just go drive off a cliff, they could just control,
100%.
If they wanted every oven to just heat to 250 degrees and just burn down every house.
Sure.
Like if something got hacked, it'd be very spooky. So yeah, if cops got hacked, bro, that would be crazy. And then also they could just say they hacked. Like you could have a dirty entity hack the cops and use them for whatever they want. And then who do you even sue with them? What are you going to even, they're not even people. You're going to put a robot on the stand?
Well, you would have to know what kind of hacking is even possible and whether or not it can be detected. Because if they're doing it wirelessly, can they do it Jamie, you probably know this. Can you hack something wirelessly from an anonymous account and get into a system and no one knows who did it? Or is everything ultimately traceable if they can find the source of the invasion?
I think when you get to high level stuff, they're going the hacker, the person doing the attack goes through so many levels to try to hide where they're going from.
Yeah, so they can hide somewhat. Yeah. And also, how many of those guys that are operating at level even exist?
Yeah.
How many of those super high level hackers are out there? And everybody else is just kind of at the mercy. If you try understanding that, if you don't do that,
no, it's impossible.
So how's a judge going to understand it? Who's going to understand it?
Yeah.
How are the cops going to understand it?
Right. It's it's got to be weird if you know that much stuff. You're kind of in a world of your own.
Oh yeah, if you're a super Bitcoin creator type dude, you're in a world of your own. You're existing in the most sophisticated layers of the technological power of the likes the world's never seen before. Never seen anything like it. And you're the people that are at the head of the code. You're the people that are making AI.
Yeah, you're like Christopher Columbus or whatever. You're the fucking. You're on
Christopher Columbus is great,
edge.
Bro. That's great,
dude. If people, that's why I've said this for years. People with autism are the link between regular people and machines. That's where we're headed. It's all in 2 generations, everyone will have autism. You won't be able to find anybody that doesn't have it or that doesn't. I kind of freak out if somebody's whistling or whatever.
It's almost like whatever the reason why more people have autism today. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that think it's vaccines. There's a bunch of people that think it's environmental issues. There's a bunch of people that think
it's Chick-fil-A. Some people probably
could be.
I'll take it though, dude. It's so fucking good. There's no way you wouldn't take some Chick-fil autism, dude, if they had it, bro. If you're every now and then, just a weird guy runs out of the back room with a a couple pickles on his back, dude, I'd fucking be like, I love this guy no matter what he has, you know.
I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry,
But
dude.
it had something to do with autism. That what we were talking about, like,
I think that this is the end of that realm.
So just imagine.
All right.
Okay. So there's whatever the reason why there's more cases of autism. Most people, I think, will agree there are more cases of autism now than ever before.
Okay.
But what meaningful changes have we done, if any, to try to limit that, or to try to mitigate that, or pull that back? I'm not sure. And what meaningful, like what progress has been made where you're saying, like, oh, now we have 20% less autistic kids. So if that's not the case, and yet we're in the greatest technological time that we've ever been aware of, and people have more access to information now than ever before, why is it moving in that direction? And maybe that is a natural thing. Maybe all this transgender shit where everybody's like, oh my God, like I am so sick of hearing there's boys and there's girls and that's it. Maybe when you find out about plastics and the things that's happening to the human body because it's fucking with our endocrine system and it's shrinking people's genitals and shrinking people's taints and lowering testosterone levels and causing more miscarriages. If you were watching this play out, if you were not connected to us, and if you were like from another planet and you're like, what is this thing doing? Oh, so this is a very complicated animal. And this animal gets involved in various plastics and metals, and it has a symbiotic relationship with plastics and metals, where the plastics and metals, it gives them cars and handbags and television sets, but it also robs them of their primal essence and slowly turns them into these genderless, weird creatures that can only survive by replicating through their DNA.
Dude, well said, bro.
Because if you were looking at it from somewhere else, and you were looking at what are we addicted to? We're addicted to electronics, and we're addicted to plastic.
Yeah.
We use plastic for everything.
And we're willing to sacrifice something for it.
Dude, I was reading this whole thing about petroleum in the healthcare industry and like health and wellness and like oils and shit, like how much petroleum is used and all this. It's everywhere. It's just everywhere. It's bizarrely everywhere.
Petroleum is?
Petroleum is. Yeah. So you've got oil and you've got plastics and you've got all of these weird, funky phthalates and chemicals and pesticides and herbicides. We're all aware of it. We're like, this is really a problem. This is really a problem. I'm fucking blasting the air. It's all of your food. Like, this could be a problem. Everyone's like fucking Monsanto. Like,
nobody can sleep anymore.
Everywhere. And everyone's like, well, we'll get to the bottom of that once we make it safer for queer kids. And then it's slowly, we're going to get to a point of no return where our genetics are fucked by our environmental pollutants, which have only existed over the last couple hundred years. So our genetics get fucked by these environmental pollutants, and they're like giant changes in human testosterone levels just from the 1970s. Giant changes.
Oh yeah, dude.
So I think if you're on that path, and you're clearly on that path, we are as a human race, we're clearly on that path.
Fast.
And we're also at the same time on the path of artificial intelligence. It's like, how much time do we really have? How much time do we really have here?
What if a trans kid, how many trans people are there?
They're all trans now. Everybody.
Right. What if
the whole country is trans?
What if this?
I think they backed off a lot of people have decided they really didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
There's quite a few, and people get mad at them, which is really wild.
When they
people get mad at them for changing their mind.
Have you interviewed anybody that has gone down the surgery path and didn't want to have the surgery? Did you ever talk to somebody like that?
No.
Just curious what that world is like.
Everybody's got their own weird thing with that because it's a weird thing. Like you don't like your sexual organs that you're born with. Mm-hmm. You identify with another gender, or at least you think you do.
Right.
At least like you identify with what they like more than what the boys like. You're probably just gay. And that's one of the things they've studied is when they leave transgender or supposedly transgender youths and they don't do anything, they eventually become gay men.
Oh,
it's a big percentage of them.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're all like that? And some people don't like genuinely have like true gender dysphoria? No, it doesn't. That's always been a thing too.
And being gay used to seem like if you were just gay, that was everything. It was like, but I guess it was like gay didn't, it was like, oh, if you were trans or any, now it's LGBTQI, right? And
there's also, there's intersex,
plus,
two, plus.
Right.
What is plus?
Plus.
I don't know.
Plus.
I know two is Two Spirit, which is my favorite.
Really? I know I'm going to need.
Spirit. They took the kooky Two Spirit people and
the Native American.
No, Two Spirit is like a very specific, like, let's Google it. Two Spirit is like, you think you're like Foxcan or some shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is where I found out that, I might be fucking up what Two Spirit is, but this is where I found out about this stuff because a buddy of mine who was in Utah, his wife worked at a public school, and he told me that she told him that they were having a meeting because one of the parents had proposed putting a litter box in the bathroom. Their kid thinks it's a cat.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he told me that. I talked about it on podcasts, and people started saying that was transphobic. And this is a transphobic lie. And I was like, whoa.
So it wasn't a real story, you mean?
But first of all, what does that have to do with transgender? What does that have to do with that? You're talking about someone who thinks they're a cat. Well, how is that transphobic?
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, there's a lot of things connected in this one group that are not the same thing. Like, they're just trying to lump in every idea. Like, say if you only have, like, the Electoral College, you get, like, a couple points in this state. But if you win, like, 10 fucking states, you got a big coalition, you can get to the White House, So it's like, if you can't just transgender people on their own, too many people are like, no, you can't go into the women's room. Get out of here. But then you add them to the gays.
Oh, I see.
You add them to the queers, which is like, what does that mean? And then if you're
more of a buffet of
what is that? Are you in? Okay. Two Spirit people, maybe straight, gay, bisexual, asexual, or queer. Yeah. Exactly. They're the people that want to pretend the most. I'm everything. I'm a boy.
Like
I'm
they
a
want to play
girl.
the shell
I'm straight.
game.
You're a fucking narcissist, probably. You're probably a loon. Or maybe you really have this Two Spirit thing. I don't know. But there's a variety of things that are true at the same time. You're going to have people that are kooky. And you're also going to have people that unfortunately really do wish they were born a girl.
Yeah.
Both those things are real. But the thing about us as a species, if you're looking at these drops that are all clearly established markers in terms of testosterone levels, miscarriages, men who are incapable of having children, low sperm counts, smaller testicles and penises, like we're moving in a direction of looking like those fucking aliens.
Well, that's what I've said this for years. If you look at an alien,
right,
their head is big because that's the only thing that's going still, and their body is this useless sort of fucking Christmas ornament,
spindly, genderless thing. And
yeah,
genderless, like no tits.
That's stuck under a weighted blanket too, probably, dude. Bro, you want to stop an alien? Throw one weighted blanket on that bad boy.
I bet they don't interact with things.
Well, of course they don't, because everything happens in their head. It's all built in. At that point, why do you even need, if you can just blink and come or whatever, and you just, you fucking blink again and you have a mortgage, and then you fucking cough and your fucking parents are deceased. It's just like,
there's no non-aware language. You speak every language. You know every fact about everything on Earth at any given moment. It's all in your head. There's no questions.
There's no,
you have no dick. You have no mouth.
It?
You can't even enjoy food. You have no mouth.
Yeah, dude. Well, if I got a dick and you got a mouth, dude, food's second.
It's party.
I'm catching a VJ. I'm gonna get I don't know.
Fucking alien. Imagine getting head from an alien. Imagine you wake up in the middle of the night, like you have a crazy sex dream, and you're like, oh my god, like you're getting, like, you ever have a dream where you're having sex? You think in the dream you're actually having sex.
Oh,
it feels real. Guys come in their pants.
Oh, I had a dream. I was on an airplane one time. I was flying to Philadelphia, right? And I had a dream that I was doing oral sex, right?
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like that in the air, and this old dude fucking shook me. He's like, "Get it together."
Wow.
I was on the plane. It was
told
just
you to get it together.
Yeah, I was eating air pussy. What are you talking about? Yeah. I think at that point, it's okay if somebody
Imagine if
shakes
you open
you.
your eyes and an alien was below you.
Oh, I
And
bet
you
it's
just feel trapped. You're paralyzed. The alien is just sucking your dick, looking you in the eyes. Just big insect eyes. Just could you imagine?
no,
Bro,
dude.
the fuck
I'm
Stephen
not-
King. That's a real horror movie. Could you imagine you're paralyzed and an alien is sucking your dick?
What sound does it make? I bet it makes a sound like a.
Slurpee. Like
Oh.
they over exaggerate. They give you like a caricaturized
Oh,
version
yeah.
of our stories. We know they like it when you make a lot of noise. You're gonna be gagging.
But they're not even moving. It's just a feeling and making noise. Or it also has that light. You know, like whenever you make a Xerox copy of something and that fucking light goes
Yeah.
down and back. It's like that. I wouldn't want that. Dude, what was I seeing the other day? They were having gay animals now. Is that?
They were having gay animals. What are you saying?
If you pull that up, Jimmy, if you see anything of it. Or that
What
animals.
kind of request is that?
Well, I'm just saying, if you see,
Bro, animals fuck couches. They fuck your leg.
okay.
You ever have a dog?
Well, some
Dogs
of them,
will grab a hold of your leg. They know your leg isn't a female dog. They don't care. They grab a hold of your leg. Does that mean he's gay? No,
Well-
it means he's crazy horny.
but no, I was seeing something where they were trying to have a high, it's like a upscale meat or beef that comes from a gay.
Why this one? Hold on to this. Why
Yeah,
are
gay animals.
scientists ignoring all the gay animals? Go down to that. 'Cause
It's a great
there's
question.
a study. This is like those that James Lindsay, Helen Pluckrose, Peter Boghossian thing. What is it? What does it say? Can I read the headline? Why are scientists ignoring all the gay animals?
Yeah.
Imagine like you're a scientist and you're trying to figure out how old the universe is, and that's the complaint you read first thing in the morning, and you're like, hey, there's other shit to worry about.
Hey, you telling me this otter ain't a homosexual?
I'm trying to figure out how old the fucking universe is. That's why there's not a lot of federal funding for gay animals.
Oh, there is now.
Bro, you have to get funding for this stuff.
I'm sure we spent a bill on it, dude.
Yo, that was another thing that was crazy about the Harris campaign was when you found out that they can pay activist groups. They give donations to activist groups, like large sums of money.
To
Like, hey,
activist groups.
like what? So that these people will endorse them.
Oh, I see.
There's an accusation that she gave. What's that dude's name? It was on MSNBC. The old dude.
Don Leonard?
No. Don Leonard. You combine two names. Don Lemon and who? Sugar Ray Leonard.
Don
That's what
Lemon.
he did.
Yeah, dude. Hey, bro. Hey,
No, Al Sharpton.
Don's
that
got a little more sugar than Ray Leonard, I think, dude. To be honest. No judgment, dude. But I'll tell you this.
That's maple syrup.
Gay animal meat, bro. Gay animal meat is going to be the new thing. You telling me you're at a restaurant, right?
Right. To be
And-
a gay lamb.
And they're like, hey, okay, you can have this lamb,
Yeah.
$70, this shank. Or you could have this sweet little lamb shank over
Yeah.
here
This
for
one,
$90. Yeah.
the best of both worlds. So it's got the firmness of male.
Yeah.
It also has that sweet tenderness of female.
Yeah, it's also been basted from the inside, you know? I think you telling me you're not going to get a gay steak, dude, for an extra $20. You're not
Well,
going to try
especially
it?
if you're LBGT friendly. You want to support the gay steak market.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's
What
the
if they're
next
like they
thing,
start
though.
cheating though, encouraging straight cows to fuck each other just because they because they realize there's more money in gay steaks.
You're like, I'll take a steak. You're like, is it
Like-
gay? You're
like,
like,
listen,
fucking better
In,
be,
in
boy.
the attention market that is social media, there has to be a few people out there that are pretending to be gay that aren't. Like, here's a good
Oh,
example.
for sure.
Here's a good example. There were a bunch of girls, and people got mad at them because they're hot female OnlyFans girls, and they started putting fake dicks in their pants
Okay.
and pretending that they're trans because that was getting them a lot more views.
Oh.
So apparently, the way to get a lot of views is to be a really hot trans person.
Mm.
Like really hot trans people are in right now.
Oh,
Like really hot, like a girl, like a super hot girl with a hog on you,
with this
big
smoke.
old hog on you. So people got mad and started saying that my identity is not your costume. like the actual
like the
trans
cultural
people.
appropriation kind of.
Yeah, but like, hey,
Right.
are you doing that? Are you doing that? You have a dick and you're saying you're a girl, and then these girls who don't have a dick are putting a dick on, and you're saying you can't do that.
Oh, so they're all.
This is crazy.
Yeah, it's like we're caught in a blender, dude.
First
Dude,
of all, it's very short-sighted because you should be pro-trans even if it's fake trans.
right.
That would make more people into trans people, that'd be better for everybody.
Right, no matter what. Now, are some people,
It's famine thinking.
are there really some people, are people born with wiener and breast? Is that a real thing?
I have not heard of that, but I know that some guys do have problems with their breasts. Like there's a thing when guys take steroids, they develop something called gynomastica. And gynomastica is an enlargement of the breast tissue. I know guys who have had to get their nipples cut open and they have to get that removed and then sewn back together again. It's like a serious operation.
But so are some
But
people,
that's breast tissue because they take so much testosterone that their body starts producing extra estrogen,
okay.
and then they get titties as a side effect.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not fucking that up. That's what I've been told. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. But the point is, that's the only time I've ever heard of like with a dick and tits.
But some people are born with both genitals, right?
Yes. That's a little different, right? That's pretty rare. That's called a hermaphrodite. Or now I think they call them intersex now. People are always trying to come up with new names.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it.
These growing up.
Hot tits. Normal breast tissue hormone imbalance causes swelling.
First of all,
Causes some sweet.
yeah, first batch I ever saw on my buddy. Shout out to him.
I'll
dude.
tell you what. If I could just crop out that right tit, I could web one off
dude,
that right tit.
I used to look at my buddy
go
like
back to that
that.
tit, please. You go back to his. It's his left.
He gets
So
that.
his left. It's like no. I don't want to see the technical, the actual one. So if you just cropped in his left, that one.
Yeah, look
Just
at that.
crop into that. Remove all side of hair.
Look at that. Look at that little milk port she's
Bro,
got on
that's
him, brother.
like a hot athletic girl's boob.
Oh, damn, brother.
Right?
That's a fucking little nerve brain.
We don't really need to. Don't do that.
Sorry, that's a lot, dude. But I'm telling you this. You telling me this. That if you make a steak out of that man, you're not going to pay an extra $30.
Yeah, and then the problem would be they would start.
The bulge.
Oh, see,
Ooh.
that's it. So they're doing it.
A lot of people. But do you think though? This is what I wonder sometimes. Do you think that science has us headed so we were all that everyone is going to be trans at what? Like it's all
Yes.
merging.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be genderless. Really. Go to that article again. I want to see what they were saying. What was they saying?
It said it was only 2 of them. I don't know how.
Oh,
it could have
that's
spread since like
Not on my Instagram.
September. So
There's a gang
they
of
might
them.
have started a trend.
They're all over the place. OnlyFans models. Can I just read that? OnlyFans models are targeted by online LGBTQ mob after posing in underwear with fake bulges. That's so crazy. So crazy. That's so hypocritical.
I wonder, dude. I heard Jelly Roll's got that thing on him. I heard he's got it real.
I bet it does. Look at that. Just 2 boys being silly alongside a trans flag. How can you get mad? How can you get mad?
Got that donkey
But
on him.
you can't get mad because that violates, like, you're saying that your standards are more important than them doing this thing to get attention.
Yeah.
That your standards of what's real is not real. Like, no.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. Like, because the only way, because it's only your standards. Because if you want that kind of a strict control of the way people view things, you're going to allow people to turn that on you. And there's going to be way more people that have a hard time with you saying that you're a woman when you have a dick than there's going to be for a bunch of girls who just want to take pictures and they have fake bulges.
Yeah.
That doesn't make, you're just being a control freak. Like you can't have no fake trans people, but only real trans people, but don't let anybody
Right. It's like
be
saying
in
you can't.
control of who decides what's real and what's not real.
Right. It's almost the same with like a lot of cultural appropriation stuff. But at a certain point, it just gets ridiculous. It's like
Did you see that one dude who faked it for like 6 months?
fake being black.
He faked. No, you can't do that anymore.
I'm not doing it.
No, he faked being a woman. You know that dude? He was on one of those reality shows, and he had all the tattoos. He was like good-looking guy, which is why it was crazy. He said he was transitioning, and it was just a troll. He did it for like 6 months.
Meeting chicks.
No, just like making videos online
Oh
where people
no, I
get
didn't
mad
see
at him.
that.
But he kept it up forever. That dude. Explaining Josh Cedars' trans hoax, alleged fake death, and why Monica Beverly Hills is involved. I don't know who Monica Beverly Hills is.
Me neither.
So this guy, it was very smart. He said he's been undergoing a crash out of the most epic proportions, and somehow RuPaul's Drag Race doll Monica Beverly Hills is involved. Is this like a far left-wing blog? Because the way they're writing this is like, okay, well that makes sense. Because I was like, what is the term?
First of all, it's called them.us.
Yeah, I was like, what is the? I don't understand what the tone of this article is. So go back to it now.
So he was pretending to be trans, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
For a long time. Scroll up a little bit. Oh, here it goes. The former reality TV star has gone viral on social media for the worst reasons. That's definitely not the worst reason.
Yeah.
Allegedly faking his own death and claiming it was a hack, as well as pretending to be trans and posting photos of himself in feminine clothes as an experimental mockery of trans people that he claims is exposing the woke mind virus. But that's not the worst reasons. The worst reasons is like you killed a bunch of folks. The worst reasons you lit a school on fire. That's the worst reasons. Like that's not the worst reasons for going viral. Because why did he pretend to be trans? He came out as a trans woman. He gave interviews in public, like Page 6.
But are there people that aren't came out as trans? So this guy just pretended to be trans for a long time. So he was making a mockery of it.
He said 5 months. So he did it for 5 months. So in October, 5 months later, he said that it was all a social experiment on an episode of the conservative podcast Prime Time with Alex Stein. Sider said the purpose was to expose how gullible and delusional the left is. What I did is I faked being a faker, he said. I pretended to be a pretender. But yeah, well, that's
right.
The thing is, like, people don't want to admit that he's correct because it makes you insensitive. But what he's saying is, like, logical.
Right.
It's logical.
And so what if people are actually trans? Are some people actually trans?
You'd have to ask them.
Okay.
Therein lies the problem.
I
think there are people that are not, though. There's people that are perverts, for sure, and pretend to be trans so they can go to women's rooms. For sure.
Oh, yeah. That's
sure.
at LAX.
For sure. I'm not accusing all of them. I'm just saying.
I've seen it.
You're going to have that if you have this thing. This new
loophole.
thing. This new thing. When I was a kid, if a guy with a beard and a dress tried to go into the women's room, men would go in there and beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let that happen. They would say, "Oh, that guy's a pervert."
And if a woman went into the men's room, we tell her to bring a couple of her friends. That's what I'm saying. But still, in a respectable way. Or you would guard the door while they were urinating. That was another thing. If a woman said, "I really need to urinate,"
Yeah, well, no one would care.
I had a thing. If a parent maybe had a relationship with this Monica Beverly Hills person.
Oh, is Monica Beverly Hills a gay guy?
It's a contestant from Drag Race.
Oh,
then this person like tried to out them, I guess, and they denied it, and I guess evidence of. So they're saying that he might have done this all in retaliation for this.
See, that's what happens a lot of times is people will.
I just read that.
Well, listen, it was from whatever. Maybe the guy's gay, and he pretended to be a woman. He's not a woman. All right. So maybe he had a gay relationship with a drag queen. Or maybe it's not even a gay relationship if it's a drag queen. I don't remember anymore. Yeah. I don't know what the new regulations are.
All I'm
I don't
telling
know
you
what
is
the new regulations are. All I'm saying is, if you want to be a person who is open-minded and who's compassionate and who wants to let people live and let live, you can't get mad at these girls putting rubber dicks in their pants. You can't.
Well, it's like somebody dressing up like for someone for Halloween, I feel like, right?
A little bit. But you could say that's what they're doing, though.
I see what you're saying.
You know,
so you're saying you're making your own Halloween. So you can't be upset if we make a Halloween.
You can say you're a girl. You can say you're a girl. You can be a guy with a beard and long nails and say you're a girl. But you can't make me go along with it.
I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying that you can't say you're a girl. I'm not saying that you can't call yourself a new name. But if we're in this weird, aggressive situation and you want me to say you're a girl so that you can go do girl things in the girls' room, and like, you can't make me agree to that. Right. That's where it gets crazy. Like, if you're not infringing on anybody else's space, there's a reason girls don't want to be in a fucking bathroom with dudes.
Yeah.
And if it's like trans men in the men's room, men don't give a fuck because women aren't going in there to rape men.
Right.
Right? So that's the difference. They're women that think they're men. No one cares. If a woman who thinks she's a man wants to enter into men's sports, no one's going to stop them.
Right, because sometimes it's all one direction, isn't it? Isn't it always men going to women's stuff?
Well, for sports, for sure. Look, there have been women that have turned trans and competed against boys. That it definitely has happened. The striking dominance that you see where trans men or trans women, biological men who identify as women, compete against regular biological women in sports.
Yeah,
it's crazy. You get people with like,
I would listen when
it's a delusion. It's just a delusion that you shouldn't let in. If you want to have an all trans league, do that.
That's what we should do. I feel like it seems like there should be that, so that then
it's just a cheat code. You can't just say you're a girl. You're not a girl. Let's do a DNA test. Let's do a chromosome test. Oh, look, XY. You're a guy.
Will DNA tell you the truth every single time? Will that answer always be the
fucking chromosomes will?
Okay, so there's no.
Look, there's going to be a variable thing. There's going to be a thing even with that, right? So if you have like male and female, all male and all female are not created equal. There's a giant curve between like the most manly man and the most womanly man. And the most manly woman and the most womanly woman. Like there's this giant fucking curve that all it means to be a human being. I can't tell you where you are in that curve.
Yeah.
I don't know. You are you, man. You be you. I'll be
I'm
me.
doing fine.
I want you to be happy. But you can't pretend you're in that other group. You can't, especially if you're the male pretending you're a female and you want to enter into like women's rooms. You can't do that because there's too much of a potential for that to be abused by creeps.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the solution? I don't know what the solution is. I don't know. You know, individual bathrooms.
What about that family restroom that always has? Dude, I'll tell you this. The worst thing is
that one with the diaper table.
Yeah.
That one special bathroom. That's big bathroom.
Diaper table.
They're gonna change
it's got that Australian diaper table in it or whatever. You're like, what is this?
And you don't even have a diaper, but you do have a hog and a dress.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just gonna use this one, just not freak anybody out.
Like jelly roll, dude. He's got that hog on him, huh?
Yeah, but he's clearly identifying as a male.
Oh yeah, no one's denying.
But if he wasn't, and then he had that big old hog, keep him out of the women's room.
I'm just saying he's got that mistletoe on him. I heard, you know. That's what I heard, dude. I heard he's got that. You know that thing that cops throw out to get the car to stop if it's going real fast.
Those nails on the strip.
I'm just saying. I heard he's got that rope on him, boy.
Damn.
So whatever, dude. Stay black, homie. That's what Joey Diaz always says.
Stay black.
That's the most important thing.
Oh my God. Have you ever seen the video where, speaking of Alex Jones, where Joey Diaz and Alex Jones is trying to calm Joey Diaz down, and I'm next to him. I'm just crying, laughing. And Joey's telling some story about how he smuggled weed through the airport under his nutsack. And that they didn't catch him. And then, like, what kind of fucking security do we have here? Like, see if you can find it. Because I am, like, literally crying, laughing. Like, I can't breathe. I'm fucking crying.
I haven't seen it. I'm trying to think of what I've
Joey's
seen.
going off. And this is, Alex Jones of, like, the early 2000s.
You know, I saw they got that new tariff in New York City. Do you see that? $9 to drive into the city now.
That's so crazy.
During congestion time. So during,
that's so crazy.
I think it's 5 a.m. to 2.
They're just trying to ruin that city, man.
Well, I just wonder, what will that, like, who does it, obviously everything hits people that don't have money the hardest, right?
You know, we were talking about how once people have power over you, once they have control over you, they never want to let that go.
Oh.
The East Coast is a great example of that. And one of the best examples is the tolls. The tolls were supposed to be created to pay for the city, to build the roads,
right?
Build the bridges. But they paid for it 100 times over. Once it's already been paid, now you're just stealing money from people because you can.
Yeah.
So then they just fill their coffers up and fill their bureaucracy and fill their red tape to justify all this money coming in.
It's all a scheme.
It's the Joe and Alex Jones show, 2010.
Michael Jackson. I watched this. They're just better at covering up what they do.
Michael Jackson?
No, I don't know. Look at the movie. He was dancing and singing, and next thing you know, he's dying of oxygen. Look, not right. A junkie's a junkie every day. He doesn't wake up, sing and dance, and then he has oxygen tanks at night. Something's not right there. And in my case, like old school, you're worth more dead than what you are alive. You understand me? Now they got a new record coming up. He ain't in debt no more. He's doing a tour next year with the people from Vegas that jump up and down down the Blue Band group, whatever the hell that is. I mean, he's worth more now than he's ever been. I think Rocky killed Michael Jackson. That's what I think. If it was up to me knowing what I know, I smoke a little joint, I'll break it down. I'll break it down because he bought the music from Paul McCartney and wanted to give it back to him.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they put Paul McCartney in the Super Bowl. They tried to build up the Beatles to get their thing going. And all of a sudden, Michael Jackson.
That's right.
I believe
He
it.
goes a lot longer. The best is the end, though. He says, "Stay black." You just get to the very back.
Time you listen to your bullshit congressman or your bullshit governor or even a bullshit president or somebody who's running for president and he's hitting you with that same force shit that they give you every 4 fucking years and you still vote for the fucking Momo and you get mad. Think about me saying the word fuck. With that, I'm out of here. I gotta go smoke a cigar.
Hey, hold on a minute. We got to say bye here. Very solid points. Don't do the. Don't. No, I know. Joey, you did it.
But this is just the American public know that every 4 years they buy the same shit they've been buying every 4 years, and the same people with their Harvard articulation and how they don't curse, and they're Christians, and they have a family, and these are the same people that shove it up your fucking ass every year. The one thing that you get about me is I'll say fuck, but I will not fucking rob you. If I need something, I'll ask you like a man.
You're gonna hey,
Go fuck yourself. You come.
hold on 1 second.
Take a shuttle. Joey D, Facebook, Twitter, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Big dicks in your ass.
Oh,
Yeah.
get out of here. He goes back. I'm thinking about it's just, I'm drawing. All right. Listen,
Stay black, because that's the most important.
okay. Hey, Joe.
Stay black, dude. Bro, we got to start getting more. When are you gonna start to see people just identify as black, man?
You can't do that. They won't let you do that.
Yeah, but that's what they said about everything.
Yeah, but that one's been a hard line for a while. You used to be able to do blackface. Think about it. So many people did blackface in movies. Robert Downey Jr. did blackface in the early 2000s, right?
Good point.
You used to be able to do it. Look at that movie Soul Man. Remember? The guy pretended to be black to get like a college
Trudeau
education.
did it.
Yeah, he did it. A lot of people did it.
Lexter Holt, I don't even think he looks.
I think that's his real skin color.
You do?
Yeah, I think that is.
Okay. That's a rumor.
The point is, it's going the other direction. It's not going the direction of like the Rachel Dolezal.
No. I think you're gonna have a real surge coming up.
Well, there are people that have tried it. The problem is now with 23andMe, it's real hard to pull.
Mike Perry.
He's got like 2%.
You're gonna tell? Hey, I ain't gonna tell him he ain't.
That's for sure, dude.
I ain't telling Mike Perry is a zebra if he wants to be.
Yeah.
But
I'm not
can
interested
you bring
in
up
arguing.
people that are trying to be black and see, like by texturizing their skin? There's new things, Joe.
Well, I definitely think that people are taking pills. I've heard of that.
Yeah, darkening pills or whatever.
Yeah, there's some kind of medication that you can take. Maybe it's a peptide. Darkens your skin.
Oh,
It may be a peptide. But I've heard of it. It might even have some weird like melanin name, like molanolin or something like that. I don't remember though. But I do remember seeing it on an internet article where, there's like how far are people going to like look different.
Oh, yeah.
Different shit that people are doing.
Dark Buddy or whatever they're calling it.
Dark Buddy?
Yeah, they call it Dark Buddy. And you just like take a couple pills of it.
Oh, you're thinking of Justin Trudeau doing blackface.
Yeah, he just retired.
He's retired. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, he's stepping down until they're gonna have to find a replacement, and then he leaves.
I liked him better when he was black.
That was very brief, I think.
But still,
For a
dude,
few
it was a
hours.
fucking vibe, dude. Bro, people have hammered on that guy so much. But did you see?
Rightly so, man. That
Well,
guy's a creep.
he doesn't seem like he has
He's like a communist.
any strength inside of him of his own.
No.
And he almost seems like a character from a Charles Dickens novel. If you bring up his retirement speech from the other day,
Yeah. Well, it's fake.
I'm
That's
just
why.
like, oh, for the.
It's fake. It's all fake. He's like a fake progressive. The whole thing's fake. That's why he was an authoritarian, and he kept cracking down on people's rights. And they all really saw it during that trucker protest, because that's when it was really in front of everybody's face, where you couldn't ignore it. And here's this guy who is he's freezing bank accounts from the people that donated money to the truckers.
Here he is, though.
Yeah, I don't want to listen to this. Fuck this guy.
But he very much has a character from a Charles Dickens novel, doesn't he?
It's because it's performative.
Look, he
Like,
makes
if you
AI
watch-
though. Look
But
at
if
him.
you go to see a movie about Charles Dickens, here's
Yeah.
one thing: when you ever go to see like an
Yeah.
old-timey movie, everyone talks in a more elegant and sophisticated
father.
manner.
Hello,
Yeah, there's a difference to the way people talked in those like Dickens.
I've got
type-
rubella, Dad.
Yeah,
Tommy has rubella.
you know why? Because it's fake, right? Like that's how people used to make movies back
Did
then.
people
They
really
made
talk
them
like that back
fake.
then?
No, people talk the way they talk.
Nuh-uh.
It's just people were just not. Well, they talked and they had different vernacular then than they do now. But people, when you're performing something was new. You have to think about
Oh.
this. If you go back and watch movies, like one of the things that's great about the fact that we produce so much content is that what it's done,
Mhm.
the entire bank of all the content that people created since the beginning of television being started to the rock and roll boom of the 1960s to the internet to all these, you can see the way people communicate evolves and changes. And if you go back to the earliest representations of broadcast media in the country, everyone talks in a way that's not natural.
James J. Braddock like
Here
that.
we are.
Yep.
ABC News World Report. Hitler has moved into, it's like there's a way that they talked back then. And then if you go watch those movies, they talked fake in the movies.
Wow.
Like Marlon Brando was the first guy to not talk fake. And everybody's like, man, what is this guy doing? It's revolutionary. He seems like he's a real guy. Like nobody even knew how to do that until Brando came along and did it. And so then
Oh,
movies
that's good.
became, and then you get a guy like a Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Where does he come from? Well, he comes from this entire evolutionary tree of people figuring out what's the best way to pretend publicly. And the way that they would do it in the Charles Dickens movies was a primitive way. It's like when you're watching
Albert is sick, Dad.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was on the other day. It was like Christmas Around the House.
Oh yeah.
The old one, the claymation one. Oh, the snow's moving around. The snowman. Yeah. It's goofy as fuck. Santa looks goofy as fuck. It's terrible the way people talk.
Santa.
It seems so fake. But that was the standard. It's like $6 Million Man was a good show. Okay? It was a good show.
Right.
That was the standard. The standard was terrible. Like we had a terrible standard for communication.
Oh.
That standard's changed over time. It's changed. So the people that are still doing it that way, it's glaringly obvious.
Right.
So what Justin Trudeau is doing, he's doing like a fucking strip club DJ voice.
Yeah.
He's like Lexus to the main stage.
Good
It's an
evening,
affectation.
Manitoba.
You don't know who
Yeah.
that guy is. You're not getting any of him. That is a mask.
Yeah.
You're not getting any of him.
Well, he went to that Tragically Hip concert. Is that the band Tragically Hip or whatever? Huh? Tragically Hip, yeah. He went to that concert and he wore a jean jacket and everybody thought he was like a vibe. And I think that's how he won that election or whatever.
Wow.
And,
That's hilarious.
and then
He's good looking, he's tall, and he's charismatic. He's figured out a way to bullshit. In the beginning, before he had any power, it worked.
Yeah.
Because he sounded like a sensible guy. But people get revealed when they face pressure. And when he faced pressure during that trucker thing, then he showed his true cards.
do you think that they'll take Canada in to be the 50s first or second state, whichever one it is?
I think, this is what I think. I think we take Canada and then we go right into Mexico.
Let's fucking go. Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I said. I tweeted that today.
You did?
I tweeted that
Didn't
today.
see that.
We should let Mexico in too.
I want to be
Like, everybody
Mexican.
keeps sneaking over. How about we just let them stay here?
Yeah, huh?
Just like, how about we go into that? How about what I said? How about what he said? Like, instead of trying to like let all the bad stuff in, how about we make this like totally lockdown safe and then expand safety, expand it. But you got to do it without stripping people of their rights.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But also, there's
It's a big
some
problem.
like Poland doesn't let anybody in or out of their country. Is that right?
They don't fuck around.
Poland doesn't. And that's why, like, why don't some countries like? Well, I guess America is kind of this. It's kind of a halfway house of like ideals over the years. It feels like I always thought there was this idea of this is an American, this is what we do. It's kind of like how you were brought up, like with the Pledge of Allegiance, civics class, all that type of stuff. Like this is what it means, like Ford tough type vibes,
Yeah.
But then everything kind of changes over time, and now I feel like we don't know what America is, and I think that's the part that seems super scary to people sometimes.
Well, that's the part that's easy to manipulate, right? So in this moment of chaos that we're talking about, I don't know what America is anymore. That's when you get all these fucking activist groups that are not real. That's when you get this discourse online. That's when you get people attacking. And you get real people that get caught up in it too. And they're getting you caught up in it as well. Because all these people, like, people are super addicted to arguing with stuff online. And I see, like, otherwise very reasonable people that are on Twitter 12 hours a day. And I just don't understand what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Otherwise very reasonable, successful people. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, some people tweet all day. Elon tweets all day.
All day.
But it must be an addiction, right? At this point, I mean, there's no way. If it's real, do you think it's really him doing it?
Well, that was the Andre Dittman thing. That was the thing. That people were saying that this was a fake. So was that proven that it wasn't him?
I've been trying to track that down to no idea what's.
I'd heard that it was proven that it wasn't him because this guy who sounds like Elon was doing something while Elon was playing Diablo Live.
Yeah, they had them talk to each other in a space.
Right.
They were never talk. They were definitely both making noise at the same time. But again, like without seeing both,
Also,
I've never seen a picture of the other guy.
that could be AI.
Yeah.
Right? You told me a guy like Elon couldn't, like, just for funsies, rig something like that.
Yeah,
That's
like
simple.
test it.
He's catching rockets with robot arms. You know? You don't think he could figure that out? He can figure that out. He could have the algorithms talk to each other. I think there's, they can already translate your language. They can take whatever you're saying right now in your podcast and they can translate it to German, they can translate it to Spanish, they can translate it to anything. If they can do that, they could for sure have a version of you that's quick enough with AI that it could respond like a person would.
Yeah. Which is, it's all going to get interesting because now there used to be places, if you didn't like what was going on, you could sail off to another place. But there's not that many of those places anymore.
No, and
so
that's one of the reasons why we got to protect America. We got to protect freedom, because if they can lock down on us, we are the last beacon of hope for the world. And I know that sounds ridiculous. Oh, you guys are so ridiculous, so egocentric. Look what's happening to Europe. Look at the chaos. Look at the chaos. Look at what's happening in terms of, like, how people are upset at their political parties. Look at what's happening with Palestine and Israel. Look what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. Did you see that fucking bomb that went off today? You want to see something nuts? That's real. You don't know if it's real? For real?
You sent me in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
I was taking a shit.
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, Jamie needs to know about this one.
Oh, yeah, dude. I don't like shitting at night because sometimes I'll go back to sleep. So while I'm sitting there, my legs will fall asleep. Ever had that happen to you, bub?
Yes.
And then you try to get up and you're like, I'm stuck here on shit island.
Yeah. Your legs go numb. And then you just fall down and hurt yourself. You just imagine that's how you hurt yourself, like slipping with your pants down by your ankles and your numb ass stupid legs. You bang your fucking head into the nightstand like, ow!
And your wife's like, is this what I'm married?
Ow! Yeah. You're the protector. You KO'd yourself in the toilet room, just slamming your head off the fucking doorknob. You get a big circle in the middle of your forehead for a month.
Yeah.
Every time she looks at you, she looks at you with your stupid fucking bruise, your pants down by your ankles, half wiped ass.
Dude, my mom used to always come. We'd doze off on the shitter as children, my mom would always come in there and rescue us or whatever.
That's hilarious. Well, now it must be more common because of phones.
Oh, yeah, people
spend way more time.
A lot of crazy stuff. I mean, the Asians can't eat hot dogs anymore. I just saw that the other day.
They can't, as a general rule.
They're not allowing it. North Korea.
What were you just looking up, Jamie?
Ukraine hypersonic thing.
Yeah. You need to see this.
I've how to shoot down. I don't think that video is real. I'll just start there.
You son of a bitch.
But there's already stuff saying, like, don't believe the hype from 2023 Ukraine and the Kinzhal missile. Don't believe the hypersonic hype.
Well, I remember in the beginning of the war, there was a bunch of footage that turned out to just be video games. It was going everywhere because people can make money from clicks, right? So
that explosion's not real.
Can I see that again?
Well, everything's just dangerous now.
How do you know that's not real?
That when it comes up here, that video of that bomb and
Oh.
the tree line, someone edited that part. Those two things are the same.
In what way?
I'm just a history of looking at this stuff a lot.
So,
It's a separation right there.
oh,
So,
mm-hmm. But if it's far enough away for the curvature of the Earth, wouldn't that?
all right, in theory, it could be real, but this is the only video of this that exists,
Right.
and
See,
no one else
this
is
is
claiming that this.
right. What I'm seeing though is that thing that you're looking at in the background is elevated, right? So that would indicate to me hills and valleys.
Mm.
So that means the bomb could be going off in the valley below that, and I don't know how far down that is. So if you're talking about an area like this, could be Utah, right? So if you're taking a photograph in certain,
like Utah, it's got a soccer field.
Oh yeah, where is
do they
that?
play a lot of soccer
In Ukraine?
Utah? Oh, Ukraine?
They probably do, right? So see what I'm saying? Like that could be far enough over that hill where you get that effect of separation and still be natural.
The way that it even looks, though, it looks like someone's got a TV behind another thing, and they're showing an explosion of a TV. The way that looks is not even
right. It does look like a little
exposed correctly. If you
right,
it looks, when it pulls away, it gets
yeah.
It looks grainier.
And I don't know how you would be filming that to catch a hypersonic missile. It says it was a U.S. reporter accidentally filmed it. Like, okay, they're really in there.
And it's going pretty slow at that point too.
Let me see it again. Well, it's hard. It's a perspective thing. Like it might look slower than it is because it's covering a lot of distance.
It looks like Terminator 2. Really, that's kind of like.
It's hard too because like we're probably looking at cell phone footage, and cell phone footage is still not that good.
So bizarre.
They keep making it better and better, but
it gets worse and worse. The photos do.
First of all, like drones. I'm not seeing one good cell phone drone video. So all that argument about like if UFOs are real, where are the fucking videos? Everyone's got a phone. Those arguments are now out the window because we know the drones are real, right? So we don't. What? Sorry.
It's all for the Pinzel missile thing. Like. It just starts talking about it.
The type of missile that they're saying that was?
If that was a real video, in theory, would be everywhere.
Yeah.
It would be everywhere? What do you mean?
There would be a bunch more results saying, like, look at this crazy video of this missile going off.
Oh, I see. So there's only one video and there's no other reports of that bomb going off like that?
Would look at the account that posted it and start looking at some of the other shit they posted. It's
it's a shit poster. What was that one, though, that did blow up? Was it in Iran or in Syria recently? Where they hit some ammo depot, the Israelis did, and it looked crazy. And that was a real one. Well, yeah, you remember that one? I think you're right.
That's heartbreaking.
It's so scary. You watch the amount of explosion when it hits, you're like, Jesus. Check this out. Oh, this is a different one, but this is another one that's crazy. This is an ammunition depot building that blows up. But watch this.
Oh, you're lying.
Bro, how fucking scary is that? So play that back again.
That's real?
Mm-hmm. Watch this. Yeah, that's what it looks like when one of them things blows up. Yeah, that's crazy.
Could a Kevlar thing help you from that? A Kevlar?
No. Everyone's getting smushed. Ugh. Especially if you're close. The buildings are getting eliminated.
And what could you hide behind? Like, what type of thing would you do there?
There's nothing. You're not going to do anything. You're going to get vaporized. It's only about how much distance you are from that blast. Here's one, too. Yeah, this is the one, the aerial Syrian. That's right, the Syrian army one. Check this out. See if you can do it from the beginning. It's fucking bananas, dude. Watch this. Look at this. Boom.
This just happened?
3 weeks ago, it says. Fuck. Look at that.
And that was in Syria? Mm-hmm. What did they do wrong?
Wait, he just phrased that. It was so funny.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
If you really want to pay attention, you have to go down multiple rabbit holes.
Okay.
But, Assad was just removed as the dictator of Syria.
Okay.
What's that, Jamie? Oh, I thought you did. He did get removed, right? And is he dead, or is he? Because there was reports that he was in a plane. The plane was shot out of the sky, but then there was reports that he landed in Russia. So I don't even know what's true. Did he get a shot out of the sky, or was that was like a story that was in the news?
It's not saying he's dead when I Google his name.
Are the stories still up that says his plane got shot out of the sky? Because I remember there were stories that said his plane got shot out of the sky, and then there was some Twitter story saying that he landed in Russia. I was like, what is going on with this? But they wanted a regime change, and they got it.
How hard was it for him to get?
That's the problem. If you want to go down this rabbit hole and have a conversation with like Dave Smith about it,
He knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll take you down the rabbit hole.
He's an interesting guy, huh?
He knows a lot.
He's very smart, huh?
Very, very smart. He knows a lot. And he legitimately knows a lot. He's not bullshitting about what he knows.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's why he gets these guys, they get cocky and they want to have, like Chris Cuomo, want to have a debate with them, and he just trounces them.
Yeah,
because he knows what he's talking about. He's not lying, right? The difference between a guy like any of these CNN type media darling types who pushed the fucking COVID narrative and push every mainstream narrative, those guys, that's a very specific kind of mindset. It's a bullshitter's mindset. And those guys all melt in front of actual conversations with people like Dave Smith who know what they're talking about and are not ideologically captured.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things you just can't argue. You can't argue that it's a good idea to do certain things. And if you have not made that conclusion in your mind, you're still thinking like you're employed at CNN, you're never going to beat a guy like Dave Smith in a conversation. Because he's not going to argue with you if you're right. If you're right, he's going to agree with you.
Yeah, he seems so locked in.
These people they're doing a totally different thing. Reuters reports Assad may have died in plane crash, later removes report. Well, they got the call.
So he escaped, I guess. But so
they got the
regime is gone and down, and I've seen no more updates other than this. That I don't know where he is.
Do you believe that we still can get real news information, Joe?
Not from me. Speaking of which, I have to correct something because there was a conversation that I had with Giannis Pappas and Chris Stefano. We were talking about John Jones. I had heard a rumor that John Jones wanted $30 million to fight Tom Aspinall. And I did hear that rumor. And I did hear that the UFC said yes, but it is not true. So Dana contacted me, said that rumor was bullshit. So I felt obligated to tell everybody that was a fake rumor. I don't even remember who took, because we did that podcast. Unfortunately, we did that podcast 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember who told that.
What do you think the amount is that John Jones would fight him for, or do you think it's an amount?
Well, apparently John is thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
And he should. I mean, he's going to have to someday. He should. I'm not saying he should retire. I'm saying he should think about it. Give the man all the time he wants. He can fight whenever he wants to fight. That's John Jones. He's the GOAT. So leave him alone. If he decides one day to come back, and he comes back and he wants to fight Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight title, the question is, like, how long are you allowed to hold on to the title before they start having that conversation? Now, he just knocked out Stipe Miocic, so give the man months. Give the man 5 or 6 months. Just leave him the fuck alone. But at a certain point in time, you have to decide who the heavyweight champion is. And if Tom is the interim heavyweight champion and John decides he doesn't want to fight anymore, he can do that. And he could do that also and then come back in a year and fight for the title. He could do that. He could do whatever he wants. But he might decide, you know what? I had an unbelievable career, never lost, except the disqualification loss to a rule that has since been reversed. He's the GOAT. He retires. He's got plenty of money. He's got an opportunity to do some acting. Yeah.
He's an interesting character to me because he seems like unique, kind of.
Oh, he's very unique. Yeah.
Like he seems hard to pinpoint, kind of. Does it make any sense or no?
No, but that doesn't ever stop me from conversations with you.
Thanks, dude.
I don't require you to make sense.
Yeah, he just
seems so boring. Yeah, imagine if listen, Theo, I really love you. I love talking to you, but you gotta make sense. Imagine that would ruin our whole relationship. That would be the most ridiculous requirement. Well, you know what Joe said to me? People go, what? That is so fucked up. Why would he say that?
God, give me one of those gay steaks, huh? Those things are $30 more. God damn.
It comes out. They fucking
You
pull
tell
it
me
out of it.
queer shoulders $9 more per pound.
They serve it in a high heel shoe. The waiter takes it out of the shoe, plates it.
The waiter just kind of scoops it onto your tongue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I call it a juicy Santana.
But they're gonna start. It's gonna start happening. They're gonna start getting these LGBTQ meats. They're gonna start getting.
What's the D you put in there?
I don't know. I think it's probably for cat.
He said LGBT.
I don't know, dude. They keep putting other stuff
There's
in
still
there.
new ones. Yeah, they always add ones. But the one that pisses me off the most, they add the A. That's asexual. Hey, stay out of it. This is not you. Why are you in there?
Yeah.
See, it's like it's the electoral college thing that I was talking about.
Right.
Because they gathered up this
We
gang
get enough.
of like fucking Springfield, Ohio. Come on in. Come on in. We could use your vote. And they just pile it all on. Do you think it's a good idea to get rid of the electoral college? Do you think it should be one person, one vote?
Yeah, I kind of do, because I think it just, there's no way that it's like askew it all then, you know? I
Right.
feel like it's one person, one vote. That's it.
Right.
You know, I just worry about still like how many extra votes they had the one time, you know, if that was ever figured out or not,
Nobody figured it out.
which seems crazy. But
There's theories.
I just wonder, once our voting gets compromised, it's a wrap.
There's theories, but the theories suck. Number's too big. To me, 15 million is too many people. You look at the graph of how many people voted, you know, for 2012, 2016, and then there's 2020.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
People showed up.
And then there's 24. It goes back to normal again. And 24 is probably the most consequential election of our lifetime, where people felt more nervous. Like, if these motherfuckers get in charge one more time, like, we could get literally invaded by terrorists. We could lose all of our rights to say things on the internet. They were talking about cracking down on hate speech online. Like, the free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that. Hate speech. Free speech does not include hate speech. Like, what are you, by whose fucking definition? Yours? A guy who thinks tampons should be in the boys' room?
Yeah.
Like, when Trump started calling him Tampon Tim, that was like one of the
That's
out of
crazy.
all his names, that's my all-time favorite. It didn't get used that much because he only had it for a couple of months because the guy went away as soon as the election was over. But Tim's the best.
Yeah, I think I'm amazed how quickly after the election everything just felt like.
Two, people in New York, Ari was talking about it, said people in New York, even though they didn't win, like their guy didn't win, they're happy they didn't win. There's like a marked relaxation. Because people in New York are realizing your fucking city is under attack.
And now it's $18 to drive in and out of it. It's $9.
It's under attack. And I mean, like invaders.
But
There's
now-
that too. But there's also your rights are under attack. You're being propagandized. You're getting your finances drained. They're sucking money out of you and not providing you good service. You have terrible leadership. You have corrupt leadership. You know, they saw Bill de Blasio, and I think they thought it was going to be better with Eric Adams, and this Kathy Hochul lady's out of her fucking mind. You're watching these lunatics run that state, and they're running it into the fucking ground, and people have to wake up before the thing hits the rocks.
Do you think we'll start to separate into different countries and states eventually? Like, or do you think new things like that will start to happen? Or do you think we'll figure everything out?
Well, we are different countries. We're the United States of America, but we're like Europe, really. Like, New York is so much different than Idaho.
Yeah.
You know? Iowa is so much different than Florida. You know? I mean, we all speak the same language, but how much different is Miami to Portland? I mean, they might as well be in another fucking country.
Yeah.
Like, you should have a passport to go to Miami.
Yeah.
You should check your papers if you want to go to Miami. You just went to Cancun, son.
You should have passport to go to Eastern Washington too, dude.
Yes. Yes. But it's like, we're a bunch of different spots, and that's one of the things that makes it cool, is that you can move to a new spot. But like you were saying earlier, like, you could move to a new spot for now. Like, we moved. You moved to Nashville. I moved to Texas. We moved because we didn't like the spot we're at. We found a spot that was like, this is better. Like, this is more relaxing. I feel better. But if you are under one universal control, and that federal control controls all of the social issues, all of the contentious issues about whatever it is, whether it's Second Amendment, First Amendment, abortion, immigration, whatever. If you have like central control, then you stifle the debate about what's best for the population. Because when the people get into control, they enforce that, and then they penalize the people that don't agree with them. And they make it like real obvious that if you step out of line, they're going to come get you and they're going to arrest you, just like they do in the UK. While they're arresting people that are making Facebook posts, you bet your fucking ass there's a lot of people that want to post things on Facebook and they don't.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to go to jail. And that's not good. That's not good. That's the problem with centralized control.
Yeah, I just saw a thing where that seems like the scariest thing, because then it's like, well, how do you think that people here are like people there, or that the beliefs here are like the beliefs there? That's why I wish we almost had like places where it's like, okay, if this is how you believe, then this is a place for you, right? And if this is how you believe, then this is a place for you. I think if we have, I don't think you have that many places. You need probably 10 or 11 places.
Well, but then you get the problem of people coming into a place and deciding that they want to put their own beliefs on this place and change the place.
Yeah.
That's where things get real weird. And you're seeing that with, a lot of countries that are getting a lot of Islamic immigrants. And they want to enforce Sharia law. And they want to do it in their neighborhoods, do it in their communities. And what is that thing? Is this bullshit? Because there was some patrol group of Muslims in New York that were driving around in cars and they were dressed like cops. And I saw that. I was like, is this rage bait? Is this clickbait? Like, what is this? What is this I'm saying? This can't be real. So it was these guys dressed up like cops that had cars that looked like cop cars. That said something about like
could have been a music video or something.
It could be. It could be.
This is
That's it.
old.
Muslim community patrols protecting U.S. mosques. So are they just security guards that are around mosques? Is that what it is? And people are blown up? That's what it is.
I just saw two election count. The numbers are pretty similar from 2020 to 2024.
Oh, really? Now that they have everything?
They have 155 million votes for this.
Can we see it? The graph?
Well, I didn't see it on the graph.
See, but the thing was, the graph was that there was 15 million extra votes.
The graphs were made before the election. The counts were all done.
Right, but wouldn't that mean? Oh, so now the numbers are high again?
But I mean, yeah, California didn't finish counting until like a week ago. They weren't done for a long time.
Are you serious?
Bro,
I don't know the actual date.
That's true. Trump was just talking about it. That California hasn't finished counting yet. Bro, they're the worst.
How could you take so long to count?
Here's the best part. In every close race, after prolonged counting for long periods of time, Democrats won.
Yeah.
The ones where they're what are the odds? The ones where you see like how many counties shifted red. That's the same thing. It's like people are getting fed up with it. They're getting tired. They're sick. They're sick of bullshit. So hey, dude, we're gonna do my podcast and we're gonna do your podcast. So this is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
So we will right now. We'll stop. We'll take a piss, and then people that want to follow this conversation go to Theo Vaughn's podcast, and it'll be this from now on.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Listen, I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you,
me,
bro.
man.
We're gonna have fun tonight too.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Oh yeah,
Shane's
we'll be at the
coming
club.
down. We're coming to the club. Joe DeRosa is here.
Oh, we got to let Shane out of that sauna.
No, he's out.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's a door. He's a big boy. Big old guy.
No, I'm excited to see it. It'll be fun. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back, folks, on Theo's show.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Wes, very nice to meet you.
Joe, pleasure.
So I, like many people, was introduced to you because of the debate you had with Billy Carson.
Quote unquote.
You know, it's one of those things where it's very unfortunate when people get caught with their pants down. And I'm not an expert in many things, but the things that I am an expert on, you could wake me up at 4:00 in the morning and ask me about those things. And I go, oh yeah, no, yeah, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I know, like martial arts or comedy. I could give you an expert version of reality.
Uh-huh.
It seems like he does not have that, and he is a wonderful talker, and it's a lot of fun. I like watching his videos. I love all that ancient history stuff, and even the most ridiculous tinfoil hat aspects of ancient. It's fun.
It's entertainment.
But I know that there's a different, like Andrew Schultz and I had a discussion about this. Like he said when he had Billy on the podcast, he said, we're not going to fucking research anything. We're not going to search anything. We're not going to do anything. Just let him talk because it's fun.
Yeah.
Andrew's awesome. But when he was on with you, it was quite apparent that you are an actual expert in the Bible and in many religious texts, and that he didn't necessarily have the facts straight. So
Yeah.
what was the fallout of all of that?
Well, it's interesting you say the expert thing, because I literally was asked to do it 24 hours beforehand. So I had like the least amount of preparation going into it. And I was okay with that because I'd listened to Billy Carson. Well, and I listened to the stuff he'd said. So I knew enough about the ways that he'd articulated things about the ancient Near East and the Bible and Christianity to know enough that his level is pretty surface. But the fallout was that not only did he not want us to release the conversation, but then he started throwing out cease and desist letters, and then he started, trying to sue people. So, I mean, I was never worried because I'm a Canadian, and anybody who's tried to sue internationally knows that.
Good luck.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As far as I understand it, he would have had to file a claim in a Canadian court that would have been reviewed to have legal precedence. That he'd have to prove that he could win.
What was his argument?
Apart from the fact that he was embarrassed that he lost.
Well, yeah, that's not really an argument, right? We've all been there. You're hungover, thinking about all the dumb stuff you did last night and wondering if anybody remembers. Unfortunately, someone does remember everything you do online, and they've got receipts. I'm talking about your internet provider and data brokers and every shady marketing company that gets their greedy hands on your private activity. But this year is going to be different. Give your online privacy a fresh start with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an easy-to-use app that encrypts your online activity and reroutes it through secure servers, keeping your browsing history private from third parties. And it hides your IP address, making it impossible for data brokers to use it to track you. You don't have to be a tech genius to use ExpressVPN. No matter what device you're using, phone, tablet, laptop, or smart TV, just tap one button to make everything you do online private. It's incredibly fast. It doesn't slow down your streaming or downloading, and it lets you connect instantly to secure servers in 105 countries around the world. So forget dry January. This year, you're going to do private January with ExpressVPN. Get 4 extra months of fresh, clean privacy protection with my special link at expressvpn.com/Rogan. That's expressvpn.com/Rogan to get 4 extra months completely free. Tap the banner to learn more.
Well, the cease and desist letter. Yeah, the cease and desist letter said, I don't want you to use my name or my face in anything going forward, and anything you've used up until this point, you need to remove. And I was given 24 hours notice to do this.
But if you're a public figure, he's clearly a public figure. Is that even, can you actually say?
No.
So what was does he have a lawyer that wrote this cease and desist?
Yeah.
Lawyer?
No. So he actually, it's interesting because Mark Menard, who was the guy who hosted this interaction, he sent Mark an official one from his lawyer. So I actually was sent one by his lawyer, which I, screenshotted, posted publicly online and said, I'm going to ignore this. And then, but he'd sent Mark, who was the podcast host, as far as I'm aware, numerous cease and desists, and Anton, who was the media manager. He'd sent a number of cease and desists.
It's unfortunate.
It is
It's-
unfortunate.
When you get caught with your pants down, you're supposed to say, "I got caught with my pants down."
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's the only, especially if you're public, like it's very clear that you're incorrect.
Well, the irony of this situation is if he just kind of left it, it probably wouldn't have made anywhere close to the splash
No.
that it's made. And we told him that. We said, like, hey,
Right.
Barbara Streisand effect
Yeah.
is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you're a big enough personality that if I make a video and say, like, hey, I had this conversation, didn't go well for Billy, and Billy doesn't want it released, that's going to start to gain traction sooner or later.
Yeah. It's, you know, the problem is to really delve into these subjects. It takes a tremendous amount of research, years and years and years of research. You really have to know what you're talking about. Most of us don't.
Well, and especially with languages.
Yes.
Like, we didn't get into it. I hoped to have, in our initial conversation, pressed him a little bit more on the more overt things he's about, like Greek and Hebrew and Sumerian, because I've studied a number of ancient languages. And when you study the languages, you realize the complexities of these things. And so when someone hasn't and they're making statements that are obviously indicative of someone who hasn't studied them, it's super apparent.
Right.
And so I think it's one thing to be making claims about, say, like Christian history or the Bible, but when you start to get into like linguistics and philology, it gets messy. If you don't know what you're talking about, it gets really apparent really fast.
So the gentleman who brought the two of you together, what was his goal? Like, what was he trying to do, and how did he approach you?
Yeah, so he's friends, or I should say was friends. He was friends with Billy. They live in the same neighborhood.
Oh, boy.
So it's actually become really, it's become pretty rough for him. So he released a video yesterday, which I think people should go and check out, where he kind of gives his perspective. He's been friends with Billy for years. He was at Billy's wedding. Oof. Billy had 15 people at his wedding. Oof. Mark was one of them. And they live in this community in Florida. Their sons are friends. Their wives would hang out. And Mark told me, he's like, I've been hearing Billy say, you know, he wants to debate. Nobody will debate him for years. And so as far as I think Mark was concerned, he was giving Billy the opportunity that Billy had told a lot of people he wanted.
Right.
And so he, you know, this was set up in that Mark and Billy have been talking. They've been on each other's podcasts in the past, and they've been friends, but more like business colleagues. Like Mark has come out and said, I hadn't really gone into the stuff he'd said about Christianity or ancient religions or whatever that much. Mark is he's a Christian. He has like a public profession of faith, and him and Billy had talked about the fact that they wanted to talk about like faith stuff and some of their differences, and that that like Wes has done some stuff on some things that Billy has talked about, and you know, maybe you should look up some of this stuff, you know, read into it. And Mark, very last minute, was like, well, I feel inadequate. Do you think I could just ask Wes? And so he DM'd me on Instagram and just kind of laid this out, like, hey, I'm gonna have Billy in my studio in 24 hours. I can tell him you're coming, can tell him who you are, I can like give him your background, but would you be willing to come? And so that's what I did. And so that's how it got set up.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but was Billy aware that this was going to be a debate, or did he think it was going to be just a discussion? Like, what did he think it was going to be?
No, he'd been given all of the prerequisites. Like, he knew we were going to go over some of his stuff that he'd said about Christianity, that I was going to come in, who I was, what my name was, some of my background, and that part of the conversation was going to be me kind of asking him some clarifying questions and rebutting some of the things that he said. So you didn't watch the 3-hour live stream that they did you?
I watched chunks of it.
Okay.
I watched a little bit and like, oof, and then I shut it off. Then I watched a little bit more, oof.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Billy there says he had no idea going in. And I mean, as Mark said in his video that he released yesterday, I mean, that's patently false. He knew what it was going to be, who was going to be involved, and even some of the things that we would be talking about.
Okay. And he also was claiming that it wasn't a debate, that he had been involved in debates before, and that he would prepare for debates, but this is something he didn't prepare. But again, it's like, if you ask me about things that I know about,
Yeah.
you can wake me up
Yeah.
out of a full sleep and give me a couple seconds. I'll go, oh, okay, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you know, you know.
And
You
it
know?
wasn't a debate in one sense. Like, it wasn't. Like, we
Right.
didn't do, opening statements and
Right.
cross-examination
Right.
and rebuttal.
Right.
It really was a conversation.
Right.
And it only kind of turned into a debate in the sense that Billy, I think, got caught out. And so the things that were talked about kind of showed that, that he needed to go on the offense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's all very unfortunate, but the good part of it is I was introduced to you and your work, and
There you go.
very, very extensive and very fascinating. And the videos that you sent me on Instagram, I watched both of those today. It's awesome. So really, really interesting stuff, and your knowledge of the history of the biblical texts and the Codex Sinaiticus and all these different things. Very, very fascinating stuff. So let's just get into your background. Like, how did you get started in your research, and how did you get into this?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were missionaries. So I was born in Pakistan and spent a portion of my childhood in the Middle East, with my parents working in Amman, Jordan. And then we came back from the Middle East when I was pretty young. And so I grew up in this very diverse home, in the sense that my mom was a missionary kid who grew up in India. And so we had a lot of worldview kind of perspectives represented in our home. Like, I often say, we had the Bhagavad Gita and the Book of Mormon and the Quran on the shelf.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and I think, that always, although my parents were never overt with this kind of stuff, they always had the perspective that, we're Christians. We believe that this worldly perspective is true, but hey, this stuff isn't scary. This stuff isn't, off limits. We can investigate these things. And they never said that outright, but that I always felt this kind of attitude of that kind of perspective. And, having been exposed in majority Muslim contexts and seeing that kind of stuff, and my mom having a pretty good knowledge growing up in India of things like Hinduism and Sikhism and that. And I don't know how much of the kind of testimony stuff you watched of mine, but just before my 12th birthday, I actually was diagnosed with a neurological condition that left me paralyzed from the waist down.
I did see all that.
Yeah. So that's a condition that's called acute transverse myelitis, which I often say is a word you can forget as soon as you hear it. It's a complicated one. But what happened was that I had the flu, and my body's immune system attacked the nerve endings at the base of my spinal cord and caused swelling and cut off the communication between my brain and my legs. And
instantaneously, right?
Yeah, basically. I'd gone down for a nap. I was camping out in the bathroom floor for flu reasons. And when I woke up, about 30 minutes later, I couldn't feel my legs. And so, yeah, that's the acute part of the acute transverse myelitis, was that it was basically instantaneous. And that's what made the diagnosis as severe as it was. Like, they said there's a 30% chance. It was like a small percentage of probability that I would recover, but a much higher percentage that there would be a lot of either complete paralysis for the rest of my life, or some kind of issues with walking. It's related to diseases like multiple sclerosis, in that it's neurological, and it affects that kind of thing. And 1 month from the day that I woke up and couldn't feel my legs, I woke up on a Saturday morning, got out of bed, walked over to my wheelchair, and sat down.
1 month.
1 month. Yeah. January 8th to February 8th, exactly.
Very fortunate.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What treatment did they give you?
So initially they gave me steroids to reduce the swelling, but so I spent 11 days in the hospital, being overseen by pediatric neurologists and specialists in this, because it's a very rare condition. And so they were studying me, and they gave me steroids, and they did some other tests, but really there was no true kind of treatment in that. So I was doing physiotherapy. I would be pulled out of gym class in school, but it was a little bit of a joke. Like, can you move your legs? You know, can you? It was.
Could you move anything?
No, nothing.
Could you feel anything?
No. In fact, when I was in the hospital, I'd wake up and there'd be pinpricks in my legs because they'd be testing where the reactions were, and they'd have used a syringe. So I'd wake up and there'd be these tiny pinpricks in my legs because they'd been testing while I was asleep to see what the kind of it was registered neurologically kind of thing. But I couldn't feel anything. I was fully a paraplegic. Yeah, but going back to that, like, so I experienced this, what I consider to be a true supernatural experience, in that I walked into the hospital to the doctors that had overseen me, and they were the first ones that used the word miracle. They said, we really don't have any type of medical explanation. And mainly because there was no atrophy. Because of the cutoff of the communication, my muscles in those 30 days were fine. And it's a short amount of time, but they said there should be something, and we're picking up nothing.
That's crazy, because I've broken limbs before and had them in casts, and just in the 6 weeks that you have a cast on, you have massive atrophy.
Yeah. So that was the kind of predication for them using the word miracle. And so that's kind of, it marks this, what I do consider to be like this supernatural, something happened. But
did you feel like that was like a calling that like led you to a very specific mindset after that?
It's an interesting way of putting it. I mean, as much as you could at 12 years old.
Right. But it must have had a significant impact on your psyche and your perceptions.
Yeah, well, it definitely led to things like later in life, I got very involved in athletics, in track and field. And part of that was feeling a conviction that I knew what it was like to not be able to wake up and walk out of the room.
Right.
And so taking that pretty seriously and competing competitively well into university. Because even though, I wasn't the most naturally talented individual on the team, I felt like a motivation to be able to, okay, I don't want to waste this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then later on, in terms of your original question, the difference in that was that I realized, okay, there's something out there, something happened that I can't totally explain on naturalistic terms. But how do we go from that to saying, okay, well then this worldview is correct? And so, being raised in a Christian home, I felt like my parents telling me what was true is not the worst reason to believe it, but it's also not the best. And so as a teenager, I did a lot of kind of soul searching. And like I said, I was able to do that to a certain level of degree because of the openness within my household, where I pulled the Quran off the shelf and I read it, front to back, just trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here? What's all this about?
Right.
And it was through that period of like searching, and it wasn't a crisis of faith. That would be an over exaggerated term, but it was kind of
inspiration of faith, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah, digging through. Okay, well, what do these guys believe?
Right.
What is this perspective hold?
Right.
And that was about a period of about a year and a half. And at the end of that, I did truly feel that, okay, well, I think in the ways that my limited ability as a teenager to investigate these things, I think that Christianity is true. But it wasn't until I went to university where I was engaging with people of other faith perspectives in Toronto at York University, where I was talking to Muslims and Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses and atheists, from the gamut.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having these conversations and I was expressing kind of my perspective on what I believe. And they would say things like, well, that sounds great, Wes, but, that's all the Bible. You can't trust that. And so that's where I started to take the
Mormons say that, dude?
Well,
Because
yes.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, in the sense that,
the Mormon one is the craziest one.
Yeah.
We know who wrote it.
Yeah.
And he's a shady dude.
He is a shady dude. Well, no, they did in the sense that the Book of Mormon trumps the Bible. So they would believe, I think it's the 10th article of the Mormon Church, is that they believe the Bible insofar as it is translated. And so they have this perspective that there's been things that have been affected. I mean, Joseph Smith made his own translation of the Bible.
That's rough. And when he was 14.
Well, I think it was later on that he made the Joseph Smith translation. But
really?
I don't even know if the official LDS Church ascribes to the Joseph Smith translation, because I think they even see this is, we know what the Greek and the Hebrew looks like, and this is not even. Yeah.
Well, he was legitimate con man.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fascinating. That it's people have such a deep search for meaning and truth that if you are confident, and which is what a con man is, confidence man. If you are really good at expressing yourself and really you show confidence in your convictions, you can persuade a lot of people.
Yeah, confidence is not competency.
Yes.
And unfortunately, those things get confused a lot.
It covers up for competency sometimes.
Yeah. In religion and politics and all sorts of things, right?
In everything.
Yeah,
in everything. I mean, I think because people want to, it's very difficult to be an expert in a subject. And I think people want to believe that they are, and they don't want to do the work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's why, experts themselves feel a lot of inadequacy, is because they study a subject and realize, I'm never going to get to the bottom of this fool.
Right.
So, unfortunately,
most subjects are very, very nuanced and very deep.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about ancient religion.
Yeah.
You're talking about things that were a oral tradition for a long time before they're even written down. So it's a long trudge to get to the bottom of things.
Yeah. And part of the whole, what I was trying to get Billy in that conversation that I had with him to get to the bottom of, partly was a question of methodology. I think he got frustrated at me at one point because I kept asking, what are the criteria that you're using when you're looking at one source versus another source, and coming up with a conclusion? Because in historiography, it's the inference to the best explanation. And so there are different ways that you go about that, different methodologies. And historians very rarely disagree on the data and the evidence. It's the conclusions that you draw from that. But then there are some things that are just out and out false. And I don't think Billy totally knew what I was talking about, but it's those criteria that we look at when we look at something that does come from an oral tradition and eventually gets written down and becomes a literary text. And then you analyze that on the basis of it being a literary text.
This is sort of the problem with being self-taught rather than conventionally academically trained.
Definitely.
Where you're trained in very specific disciplines and you're taught to understand the foundation before you understand how to put a window in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you have to know from the base, from the beginning. Do you have a water line? Do you have power? There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things going on when you're trying to construct an expertise in something, especially something that is so complicated. And one of the things that I've gotten out of I've probably watched 20 hours of your stuff over the last couple of weeks, and you've spent a lot of time on this. This is not a casual, cursory examination of these texts and of religion. This is a long journey. That's what's particularly exceptional and really interesting to me, because I'm always fascinated by people that have really gone down the road, really gone down the road, because you don't meet a whole lot of them. I know a lot of Christians that can quote you some versions of the New Testament, some Psalms, but the go all the way to the back, way, and that's what you've done. That's very interesting. So this is how old are you?
I'm 33,
which is very young for someone who has the depth of knowledge that you have. So you've been doing this essentially from that miraculous moment. That ignited this spark, even though you came from a missionary background, and then from then on, So for the past 11 years, 12 years, or 20 years, 30 years, like it's your whole life essentially. It's all been this.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, I went to university with full intention of going into the police force. I did like my undergraduate studies, and then I kind of mapped out this plan that I was going to become a police detective, and that was my goal. And I think I realized
Why not?
um
Because you like getting to the bottom of things?
it could be.
Because you do.
Yeah,
Right?
well,
If someone has spent 21 years like getting to the bottom of a religion, you know, you'd probably be pretty good at cracking cases.
I hope so. I think that might have been part of it. I also, there was an aspect of when I was in high school where they were like, you got to figure out what you're doing. You're going to be homeless. You're going to die.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember that part.
I felt that like
It was a
the
terrifying
pressure.
moment in life.
Man, I always tell people when they're in high school, like, you can chill out. Like, it's going to be okay.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I wonder if it's different now
I
because
think you should have a certain amount of desperation. Because I think that it ignites the fire within you to do something.
there's probably something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people that I know that have been too pampered and taken care of and didn't have a fear of everything going completely sideways, they never really get the momentum that's necessary to accomplish things in life.
Yeah, there's probably something to that. I mean,
Yeah.
desperation.
A little desperation fear, I think, is good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody wants to be comfortable. I don't think that's necessarily a good path. I mean, I think you should have perspective and you should enjoy your life as a young person and have those, but you should also realize you got work to do.
Well, and stress is good,
Mm-hmm.
right? Stress creates perseverance and creates patterns that allow you to succeed.
Yes.
I mean, this is like athletics 101, right?
I think that's very important.
You got to push yourself. And I think actually part of that also led in, like, I'm a big believer in athletic discipline needs to go hand in hand. I mean, I know you are too. It needs to go hand in hand with any other type of, like, whether it's an intellectual endeavor or like, because it trains you to be able to go into places that are uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that uncomfortability allows you to then become stronger, realize where your inadequacies are. And especially when you're with people who are better than you. I mean, when I was running at York University, there were two guys on our team who, because I was okay individually, but I ran for the relay team. Yes, I was a sprinter. And one of the guys was part of the, they medaled, when Canada medaled at Worlds, he was part of that relay team. And then my other training partner, Busy, who he ended up competing in Tokyo for Canada. And when you're beside someone who is like just a genetic freak, you're like, oh, okay. Like, that's different.
Yeah.
Right. And it both pushes you, but it also reveals your limitations. Where that doesn't inhibit you, like you shouldn't, that shouldn't discourage you to go up to that line of being able to push yourself. But at the exact same time, it creates a realism that, like, I can train as much as I want to. I'm not going to run like that. Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but going back to what you were asking, like, I think there was part of that in wanting to go into the police force, but then realizing, like, around my third year of university, that my passions and motivations were very, very different, and that I didn't know how to go about that or where the proper place to do that was, but I knew that I needed to lean into that to some degree, particularly with the Bible, because I was claiming that this Bible talks about this guy Jesus, and I'm a Christian. So I have a friend, Andy Bannister. He's out in the UK, and he says if you take Christ out of Christian, all you're left with is Ian. And Ian's a great guy who's not going to save you from your sins. And so, like, if I'm wrong about the Bible, there's people who push back on me, right? Those skeptics of various worldviews. If the things they were saying about the Bible were true, then it did actually legitimately undermine what I believed. And so I needed to take that seriously. I had an obligation to actually investigate those things as far as I could.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code ROGAN. That's code ROGAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
What is the oldest version of the Bible or the stories in the Bible? Is it the Dead Sea Scrolls or are there older versions?
The Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest of the Old Testament. So when they were discovered, so they were discovered in 1946 to 1957. And at that point, during their discovery, they pushed back a lot of our previous oldest manuscripts 1,000 years, which was a big deal.
How old are they?
They're anywhere between the 3rd century BC and the 1st century BC. So it's kind of tricky because the Dead Sea Scrolls they're like a library that we refer to. So it's approximately 970 documents, but it's distributed out between 10,000 and 11,000 fragments. So there's a lot going on there, right? So, and some of these, are so fragmentary that you look at them and it's like confetti. Because they're, 3,000 years old, but not quite that. They're like 2,000 plus years old.
Animal skins too, right?
Well, all sorts of things. Animal skins, papyri, and then some of them are actually done on copper. They're like inscribed in copper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of the coolest ones. Actually, this relates because I know you're a Marco Allegro guy. The first time I was introduced to Marco Allegro was not his Sacred Mushroom and the Cross stuff, but he published a book on what's called the Copper Scroll, because part of the Dead Sea Scroll fragments is this inscribed document on copper, which is an ancient treasure map.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Online?
Yeah, Jamie, pull up the, hey.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah. So it's in Hebrew, and it is wild. So it has these sites where it says buried treasure is found. And there have been a number of guys who have tried to look for it. And so
does it say what the treasure is?
You know what? Off the top of my head, I don't know. But
Look how crazy that is.
no, I know, right? And so, but the Dead Sea Scrolls, so it's like stuff like this. It's papyri, it's animal skins, and it's a number of different languages. So the vast majority of it is in Hebrew, but there's also a lot in Aramaic, and then Greek and in Nabatean. So it's like an umbrella term to just describe a whole bunch of literature. So a lot of it is biblical because it was written by this group out in the desert called the Essenes, who lived at Qumran. So, but then other stuff of it is just, it's just Jewish literature of various stripes that were hidden in caves all around the Dead Sea.
So the scrolls, as it were, aren't all biblical. Some of them is just the counting of the times.
Yeah. Oh, Jamie, look at that. 65 tons of gold and 26 tons of silver.
65 tons. That's a lot. How many Cuban links can you make out of that?
You can see why someone would try to track that down.
Boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when we're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, like you have ones like the Great Isaiah Scroll, which is fully complete. Like it's a copy of the book of Isaiah, and it's a full complete scroll. But then other ones are so fragmentary that we think they're written in Hebrew, but we can't actually tell.
Oh wow!
Because no one's willing to piece these. And this is true for a lot of stuff. So, the largest grouping of papyri literature in the world is the Oxford collection, which we get a good portion of our oldest manuscripts of the New Testament from. But if you go to Oxford and you look at the Oxford collection, you pull out that drawer, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And you're like,
right.
Like most of it is untranslated, untranscribed, because the amount of hours that it would just take to even put it together, never mind then go to the effort of transcribing and translating it. And most people are not willing to do that.
And if you're missing chunks, how do you even make that puzzle connect?
Well, that's part of my area of speciality and research is in regards to that. So I study paratextual features. We're really going to get nerdy today.
Let's get nerdy.
Where so you look at the features of the manuscripts, not necessarily the words, but things like the spaces between the words, the development of punctuation, indentation or outdentation, and I look at the margins, and I try to, based on the average size of manuscripts in and around that time, and also the average spacing of words and the margins on top, bottom, and the side, recreate what the manuscript could have possibly looked like.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So when you say the book of Isaiah is intact, how similar is it to the book of Isaiah that's in the Bible?
So that one is fascinating. So this isn't true for all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but when we discovered the Great Isaiah Scroll, previous to that, the earliest copy of Isaiah that we had was in the Masoretic text, which is in the Middle Ages.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was literally 1,000 years. We literally pushed back our understanding of Isaiah 1,000 years. And the thing that really shocked scholars, like I said, this isn't true for all the Dead Sea Scrolls, but one of the things that shocked them about Isaiah was that it was word for word identical to the Masoretic text. Word for word. Word for word. Yeah. So this is the Great Isaiah Scroll. So if you go to Israel and you go...
Is that papyrus?
Yes. No, I think that one is vellum.
What is vellum?
So I should be more specific. So parchment is animal skin. Vellum can be used synonymously with the term parchment. Technically, parchment is like baby animal skin, like calves or lambs. But this is the Great Isaiah Scroll, and you can see like they stitch together the parchment because it's so long.
God, it's so beautiful. The way they wrote back then was so beautiful. I mean, maybe it's because I can't read it, but it's so fat. Maybe if I saw English, I would think that's beautiful too. Yeah, especially script, like cursive. Cursive is very beautiful. But that is so fascinating because obviously coming from a point of ignorance, the letters look so similar. Like so many of this is the what I always got about cuneiform. When I look at that, I'm like, it's just one particular sort of character.
Yeah.
That's this way and that way and up and down and
cuneiform is wild.
Weird.
It's really, really tricky. And that's the thing when, like, if you're studying ancient languages and you start to study Greek, like the Greek alphabet is similar enough that you're like, okay, alpha looks like an A, right? Delta looks like a D. So you can figure it out. And so it tricks you because you start off and you're like, oh, this is phobios, fear. I know what a phobia is. And you get this false sense of like encouragement. And then, the further you go down the rabbit hole, you're like, oh, I'm screwed. So, but Hebrew is completely the opposite because the writing system is so different. The